I just found out that Rook sounded like Rick Rolled. And I'm missing the audio. Oh well, it was a dumb joke anyways. I'll try it later. All right, so day 30 to 47. 47. Um, Lots of cool stuff happening. I feel like I've gotten kind of in a nice mode of operation. A lot of development yesterday. Ended up having three meetings, one of which was on the live stream. Um, One of my friends in Nashville started working with Rook just kind of on his own. I didn't realize that he had got it set up on his machine, and it didn't work with Claude, but it was pretty easy to figure out what the problem was and to fix it. And so go back yesterday, you can see two people hacking on Rook and getting something nice fixed. Um, Good news, besides everything just feels like it's going well, is I got the offer to have a 15-minute interview for South Park Commons Fellowship, which basically would give me some startup funding to push my idea forward, and probably more importantly, to connect me with a group of people that uh, hopefully can fill in some of my gaps, and I can help them out as well. So I've got to be thinking about what I'm going to do for that interview. There's just a few questions. It's just 15 minutes. Um, so I'll make sure to be memorable. Um, mhm. For today, I've got several things I want to work on. I think I'll start working on one of them, which will be a way of pushing tasks to an agent through an API endpoint. Basically, once I hop out of Zoom meetings are always recorded for me. I just got that turned on. And once I pop out of Zoom meetings, I want to push the transcript once it's ready into um, my agent and have my agent connect to the correct resources to record the transcript of the meeting, uh, and and add an entry into my peeps directory. That's basically where I keep track of all the people I know and what interactions that I've had with them. It just seems like a nice thing to do. Um, but I also am terribly disorganized right now. I organize myself in Obsidian, and it has been wonderful, but I have moved from one Obsidian that is like contained everything completely. I used to use Bear, and there's no way of having like two different vaults in Bear. So I had work and like personal life and everything in one big giant vault. And then I went to Obsidian where you can start splitting stuff out. And instead of like cleanly splitting everything, I have like 4 or 5 different active sort of split out things. And it's a terrible situation. And I'm tempted to do some cleanup on that, hopefully getting Rook to help along the way. Um, yeah, so per my usual, how much do it? Goodbye, Rick. I was doing my research on the best Rick Astley video. I was doing some interesting work here earlier, where I was just playing with Rook and asking it how it would navigate some sort of stateful long-running process like Vim. And turns out it likes using tmux for everything. So with tmux, you can set up a process and then take effectively screenshots, but not a screen, just terminal text, and see what's on um, the user screen, and then you can push keystrokes into the process. So it's kind of cool. I could use Vim if I wanted to. I could have an agent that uses Vim by going back and forth. Um, and it's a good way of maybe shelling into a different server and running different server stuff, which is another thing I've had kind of running in the back of my mind for a while. I want to start a new set of changes called triggered agent interactions. Here's another thing I really want to do actually, but let's focus, do one thing at a time, I think. Hmm? Oh, come on, nah. It wasn't picking up on this environment, which probably means my accessibility was turned off. Represents a usability issue that I would need to fix if I could find a pattern. Hello, hello. Hmm? That's supposed to go away. Nah, crap. All right. Something's still wrong with it. Is that right? I got it. All right, we'll see now. There we go. I'm going to start something called triggered agent interactions, where I get to trigger my agent from like an API. And as a initial use case for this, I want to have triggers coming in from Zoom. Whenever a transcribed meeting is ready, I want the transcription to be posted to an endpoint, and I want my agent to pick it up and process it into kind of a summary of the meeting, but also if figure out who the people are in the meeting and post those people into my peeps obsidian. So I want you to look up how to do software with Rook, and let's get to brainstorming. Oh gosh, there's another thing I want to do. Those others. Ooh, I think that's done. And that's done. Uh-oh. Well, that's not good. And unfortunately, I cannot change the agent I'm pointing to. DeepSeek is apparently raising their prices at a time when everyone else is lowering them. Bug there. Oh no. This might be me. Hmm. Well, shoot. Time to start it my day. Time to completely do something different. With both the Pi OpenAI agent and the DeepSeek V4 Pro agent, we're seeing this retry stuff happening, and it's very opaque. I want to understand what the problem might be. This doesn't work, then maybe I'll just read a book this afternoon. Oh no, well, there we go. Hmm, am I even drop frames? All of them. Man, that's pretty bad. What is the deal? Hmm. All right, debugging connection issues. Noto? All right, seems like it's fixed. All right, let's see if we're actually even streaming anymore. All right, day 46. All right, that's me. Wonder what the I just found out that I'm missing the audio. Oh well, it was a dumb joke anyways. Boy, I'm a dork. I'll try it later. All right, so day 30 to 47. 47. Man, what kind of content is this? Horrendous. And also all my stocks are red. What a horrible day. All right, ready? Let's see. I bet this works now, so we're gonna go back. Hi, come on. There you go. Reading the right files. I think I want to get rid of some of these things. All right. There's several items to think through, so let's kind of put everything on the board that we know about. Somewhere there's a Zoom callback that you can fill out so that it'll send you the transcript. I want to do this safely and probably, I think, send it to my home server, which is not currently running Rook, and that might be a part of the problem. I could also maybe just send it to this computer, but that's not great because it's going to be out of operation half the time. So maybe we have to like set up Rook on the other computer, which is fine. But then we need to make sure that the changes that we're making are synchronized, and the changes are in Obsidian, which is currently backed up in Google Docs, but I'm starting to think that Google Docs is clumsy for Obsidian backups, and I'm thinking about sticking them in GitHub or thinking about other things. Um, and then how do we actually trigger the work? I think that's going to be sending something to the CLI client in the clients directory, but that client might need changes itself. And when I send something to that client, we need to make sure that the session starts up with entry into certain environments. And we probably need to think through about how we notify the user that something has happened that they didn't directly initiate. This is the first time that that might be the case. So eventually that involves UI stuff to like have a list of tasks that have been run in the background or scheduled tasks, maybe even. Um, there's vague hints or concerns about having to run a client task, having to run a agent task on a different machine. So like, does the client potentially connect with more than one server and it can just like use the one that's best? Should the agent on one server be able to trigger work on a different server? How can we do that safely? Because that sounds like scary to be able to push information to a server that I thought was safe, and then it can potentially even push things into my MacBook. But I'm thinking far ahead. So anyway, that's what I've got in my mind. Um, and whatever you were saying before, I want you to use my commentary to actually kick off the conversation. Oh, I like that. All right. Well, that is very lethargically doing stuff. This agent uses um, GP56 Luna high thinking, and I've noticed it be a little bit like self-pedantic, like OCD. It's like, let's check, which I like the code it makes, so maybe that's what it takes. Why can't they make everything faster and cheaper and better? In the meantime, Rook Nanigans. Mm. How do people usually persist Obsidian vaults so that they're up to date and available from multiple servers? This one's recent. His needs to be hosted in EU.
I captured the triggered agent brainstorm.
Well, thank you. Anal Glaucoma says, I pay for Obsidian Sync. That's very reasonable start to an answer by someone with that name. My grandmother had anal glaucoma. It gets easier once you get the basic idea that branches are homeomorphic endofunctors mapping submanifolds of a Hilbert space. Man. Hmm. How about hosting them in a Google Drive? Is that safe? What if there are multiple updates concurrently from different machines? Oh, producing duplicate conflict files. That's hmm. Hmm. Okay, well, how do people just generally keep arbitrary data in sync? Maybe I can use something generic. Um, I thought there was a shell sync directories command of some sort. Would that be useful here? Basically, every time something makes an update to Obsidian, I would want that to trigger a sync to the other place where that Obsidian drive lives. And if that other place is unreachable, then in this case, it's okay. We just ignore that time. That's not, nah, that won't work either. Probably dumb. Whoa, you already created a to-do list before we finished brainstorming. How on earth could you possibly know what we've decided before we've even talked about it? I think you are confused. Did something in the skill file make you confused? Maybe we should make the text different so you're not such a dummy in the future. Yeah, what do you think we ought to change? Oopsie, repair areas here. Internet still sucks for some reason today. Or at least it says it sucks. Go ahead and update the skill. Let's see what you got. Oops, you look. All right. I like having these little lines here. Hi. This paragraph feels overwrought. This paragraph feels overwrought. Okay, maybe not a common phrase. This paragraph is too heavyweight. Just say something casual like, um, and combine it in with that whole first Rook development life cycle. That we often have a brainstorming process where we just figure out what we want to do and how we want to do it. Um, Sometimes it'll be so obvious that we can skip this step, but always check with the user before creating a to-do list to make sure that we have an agreed upon understanding of our approach. There's an interesting, oh, you're going to do one of these things. I'm supposed to be remembering this. There's an interesting problem here. I've got a skill that's supposed to help me through the development life cycle. And part of that is brainstorming. And then after we know what we're doing, we create a to-do list. Um, and then we just like work through the implementation and then clean up and stuff like that. But the very rough outline, which is defined very in depth in the skill, is defined in a bolded format in this templated list that I instruct the agent to drop into the directory when it's creating stuff. Oh, wow. Now, while I was talking, the agent has actually checked these boxes, but they weren't checked earlier. And so it made me think, how would you So it made me think, eventually these agents are going to be smart enough and we can clarify the instructions well enough that they will read, you need to check these boxes between every step. That's the thing that it was missing here. Um, but until the agents are that smart, what we end up using is guardrails and hooks. Um, Basically things where we can watch the agent interact with stuff and make sure that it's following certain steps. Now here, what would I do for that though? Hooks are a little bit clumsy because like there's no way of correctly telling the agent harness this is the time where the hook is useful. So instead you just turn the hook on for everything. And then as you're reading the content going through the hook, you say, is this a use of a skill? Hmm. So instead, I guess you could go into like a sub agent that is specially assigned to do these things, and only the sub agent that's working on this skill, brainstorming, has the hook. I have no idea, so I'm gonna give up on this one. Ta-da! All right, well, let's see what it's thinking. Yeah, that's good. As you work through the development lifecycle, make sure that you check the boxes in the following list as you finish with each item. If if you have chosen to go an unusual path like skipping an item here, then make an explicit note to the side of each bullet explaining the departure and the rationale. Well, what do you think? Yeah, sure, fine. Mm, fine, fine. I feel like that's good enough. Go ahead and make some commit. Go ahead and commit what we've got. I've made some changes, just keep them. And let's get back on task. I'm reading the brainstorm.md now. Hmm. At the bottom of the brainstorming document, uh, restate the questions that you asked above in the document as just a numbered list in its own little section. A little bit obnoxious how it keeps rereading stuff. Okay. In one possible future, simply using Rook will make context consumption more limited because I'll make a plugin for whatever IDE you're using so that Rook will have visibility of the changes as you're making them. It will be as if the user themselves has an edit tool that is replacing stuff. So Rook can see that edits are being made, and I can insist that the agent, Rook, does not have to reread files uh, because it has seen all the edits come through, unless it is concerned that it is forgetting a detail or something. But I think it would tend to read documents less often, unless it really needs to. This is a very small disk. Hmm. Hmm. To be determined. To be determined. I need to learn more about what the webhook looks like, um, and the cost and benefit of doing it one place or the other. If I do it on this machine, then I don't have to worry about syncing, but of course this machine is not awake all the time, so we'll miss work occasionally. If I do it on the server behind my couch, it's always up and running, but then I have to worry about syncing Obsidian vaults together. I was thinking about using the CLI client and then having a server somewhere else uh, start the CLI agent from that the CLI client. But maybe it's a better idea to actually have an API endpoint so that we can specify an agent and perhaps parameters. An environment or a set of environments and a prompt. And that would instantiate a new agent session behind the scenes that would run headless but would be visible from the other clients. I think that's probably a better approach. And we might try something simple at first just to make sure it works instead of getting all of the Zoom stuff set up. This is worth thinking a little bit about, but it needs to be pretty generic. Deduplication seems like it might be a good idea, but it also depends whatever is coming from the third party callback. I guess one challenge with this is that the third party callback could have any possible shape. So maybe we don't want to create a server API because it would just be the wrong shape by default, unless we could make it generic enough that it just always worked, which is unlikely. I don't think there are any standard callback protocols tell me if I'm wrong. Speaking generically, each time the callback is triggered, then that should have its own associated session. And that session will remain available for follow-up questions. It will be visible in the client. Oh yeah, we also need to specify the name of the session. I'm not sure exactly how to do that. But now, despite what I said above, I'm more more strongly leaning towards updating the CLI client rather than making a server endpoint, since we have to have another server that accepts the callback from the third party. The answer is any. For all of these arguments, they just need to be specifiable. So I think at the agent server, for the CLI client, we just make sure that each of these things is specifiable as a one-liner. Specifiable. And set the agent to work. Yes, but I think for the time being, we're not going to use the home server quite yet. To talk generically, because the important thing is to make this work generically, not just for the meeting processing. To talk generically, whenever the agent is triggered with a task, it is going to be triggered with the runtime, the session name, the environments, the working directory, mm, and the prompt. And the prompt will set it up to run potentially arbitrary anything. It also has the opportunity to use skills from its environments. I think you have a skill associated with Obsidian peeps. But if you've not, we can figure out where that comes from again. But that's on down the line a bit once we figure out the generic idea first. I think I'm going to forego Obsidian synchronization at this point and just keep it on my Mac and not worry about another machine. For the time being, for the time being, for the time being, it shouldn't be notified. We do need to think of that later, but that's complexity I don't want to introduce quite yet. We're not going to worry about this one for now. It's just too complicated. Assume one Rook server, everything happens on this machine. Again, out of scope. You don't have to commit. You don't have to commit everything we do until it's time to start a work tree. All right, so I've answered questions and asked some more of my own. Um, reread that section you just created with my answers in line. But rather than addressing them right now, let's. All of this might be moot. This might be moot if there's no way of pulling the person's name out of the meeting, and there might not be. Hmm. 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 Excuse me. Oops. Oops. No. Would I kill it? Oh. Oh. Got a spinny beach ball of doom, though. Dang it. Thought we were done with that. Ooh. Alright. When spinny beach ball of doom happens, we investigate it here. We've resolved some of the prior reasons. So this is either the same thing again and it's not quite resolved, or more likely it's a completely new issue. Hmm. Good, it's like working again. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Hmm. Okay, let's figure out what to do. Um, I think part of our to-dos is going to be building a new, very thin server that receives these webhook posts and fulfills all the requirements of HMAC and HTTPS. I want to make sure that my computer is completely safe, which I presume the HMAC provides that for me. And I want to um, probably set that up in a new Git repo inside Rook. And I also need to figure out how to expose this endpoint to the world so that Zoom can post to it. Uh, Tools at my disposal are Cloudflare, which I'm using for tunneling already, and Tailscale, which I'm using for VPN, but I'm interested in other options potentially. Yep, so maybe we can start fleshing out the to-do with that. The next thing we'll have to figure out is how to trigger the agent. And you've seen in my answers there that I want to use the CLI client for that. And you can see the parameters that need to be set. Is the CLI client shape already set up where it can do exactly what I want as a one-liner? Because that's what I want. Effectively, this very small Zoom callback server is going to just receive the post from Zoom. It's going to go download the transcript based on the information provided. And then it's going to provide the information to the agent in a prompt so that the agent can download the transcript and process it. Hmm. Hmm.
Added the concrete zoom prototype?
Another to do is to read and pull out the prerequisites for Zoom connection. Uh, we also need to do that for whatever tunnel provider so that we can show people a good way to generally do this on their machine. Hmm. It's taking a little bit longer than I wanted to today, which is okay. We also need to tell the user how to do any setup, like getting the HMAC set up. What are some, what are any outstanding um, concerns we have for this right now? I mean, I think so far you don't know how we're going to process the transcripts, but basically by virtue of putting them into an environment, I'll make sure that environment has the instructions it needs. And the prompt is going to be editable, so we can just start out with something generic. Um, and I'll make sure to point it towards using the skills that it needs to accomplish the task that I want. Is there anything else that's super obvious? There's a little task I want you to create as a new GitHub issue. Um, right now, whenever I submit a user message in the chat view, it is scrolled off the bottom of the screen. So it's just a tiny bug in the Mac UI. I want to make sure that it is scrolled onto the screen so it looks like it is being currently processed. Create an issue for that as a bug. Got rename working. Woof. All right, one of the grievances I have is that can't easily organize my day. I used to have um, my in my other Obsidian Vault, I had a way of organizing what to do today and this week, and it was a gross process, but it worked. And now since I've got too many Obsidian vaults and much of my work is focused on Rook, I haven't like moved my brain here yet. So I've got a to-do list that I created, vibe coded using Rook technically. Copy these to the doc. I'll answer inline. Make a new section. You're gonna like think about it and reread something. Hmm. Mhm. Oh, all right, fine. How on earth can the callback maintain a small, durable inbox if my Mac itself is asleep? It's just not going to be hit, right? I'm confused. Question number two, the we're not going to worry about notifying the user. Just we run rook exec, and that spins up a session that just does the task. It's just important that that session has the appropriate session name and environments and runtime and prompt. We're not even going to worry about capturing output or exposing failures. No secret should ever appear in logs or prompts, of course. We're going to be creating a new repo for this Zoom callback thin server, and that's going to need access to the Rook auth token and the Zoom webhook secret and the Cloudflare tunnel credential. So probably we'll just stick it in a .env file. We do need to make sure that we describe how this works in documentation. Documentation is an important part of the to-do, and you've seen me make several allusions to it. So when we create the to-dos, have a bulleted list there for what this includes. Everything I've talked about so far, and possibly things I haven't mentioned yet. The Zoom webhook does not know anything about Rook. So we'll permanently wire these things. We can use parameters or environment variables if we want to change anything. That's correct. Right. We're not going to worry about it. Create one session. Okay, I've read and answered everything. You should reread that section one more time. I think we're probably ready for the to-dos. You've heard everything I have to say. At the end of this, we're going to have another GitHub repo inside Rook Keeper that is going to have a server that has one endpoint that receives the Zoom callback. It's going to push this information in a prompt, which I will soon edit, into a Rook exec. And effectively that's it. Um, but you also need to create the documentation to tell how to get everything set up. And I will read that and run through it and get everything working. One outstanding question that I still have is whether or not Rook exec does what we need it to do. Is it already in the correct format? None. We're gonna be naive. Yes, for all of the above. I don't know what you need to know. Do we actually have to set up a Zoom app for this? You might have not told me something that I need to know. You don't need to worry about that. We're just going to push this into the agent. All right, you are inside a to-do plugin environment. I want you to create a new skill there that is taken from I've forgotten how it works. So, do you see the Rook to-do board? I was thinking about creating another column to the far left of all the to-dos, uh, labeled items in the to-do list called triage. Is that something that you would know how to do? I was further thinking about taking all the to-do items, I mean specifically the to-do column, and moving it into the triage column. I want to keep the to-do column only for tasks that are immediately getting ready to be done because the triage column is becoming too long. Hmm. Sure. Nice. All right. That's back in working order. All right. Back to the Zoom triggered agent interaction. All right. Decision details. No. So almost definitely there's nothing that we need to do inside the Rook repo, right? Okay. So what directory are we going to create this new repository in? I don't think we need the name Rook because everything inside Rook Keeper is associated with Rook. So maybe Zoom transcript callback. Yeah, let's do it with that. Okay, I'm satisfied that you can get started working now. I know you'll do great. I noticed you did a lot of manual editing. If we have tons and tons and tons of items, then that's not going to work very well. How could we have done this programmatically? And is there any scripty tool that we can provide to make this easier in the future? This is what we're going to be talking about today. The session activity indicator. Um, Somewhere there is an issue that I think we filed recently because the activity indicators on the session selection screen basically don't make any sense. Um, they don't seem to have any correspondence with what is actually happening with the session. Sometimes they say off when I know this session is running. Um, and so I just want to reevaluate what's going on there and update it with some new behavior. So find that issue, and we're going to update the issue. Here's the new behavior. I want if the agent is running right now and has not completed its turn based on the agent client protocol definition of a turn, uh, wherein the user cannot interact with the agent because the agent is thinking or calling tools or writing. In that situation, I want the agent to be marked as active. If the agent activity, the agent turn has completed, but the user has not yet looked at what the output is, if the user has not opened the session, then it should be marked as ready, as in ready for the user's interaction. Past that, after the user looks at it, it needs to be just marked as on while the agent runtime is still on. And when the agent runtime is closed, it needs to be marked as off. Come in.
Hello, I'm just there.
Hello. How's the downstairs?
Warmer.
It's a little bit too cold in here. I'm not sure why that's on, actually. I thought I pushed it and turned it off. I'm chilly.
You can turn it off. It's not that hot anymore.
Did the guy fix the air conditioner?
The guy, I have no idea.
Well, are there any activities downstairs? I got FOMO.
No. Oh, we visited. Not visited. Really. Me and Clara went shopping.
Oh, Finimato.
No, like convenience stores and stuff.
Oh, fun, cool.
Grab stuff for the road trip, and we visited King Kong's
Yeah.
or King Kong.
An actual one? Lawson.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We visited the King Kong
We ought to do karaoke while we're here.
because this is the land of karaoke.
Yeah, this is a land of not terribly embarrassing karaoke.
You are right.
Kerpluff. All right, I'm gonna start talking at my computer again. Bye.
Love you. Mm.
I haven't thought a lot about how we know what state we're in, and I want to try to keep it simple. I guess active is easy to figure out because of the ACP protocol. We know we're in a when we are in a turn. If we're just doing it on the client side, then ready versus on is fairly easy. But we don't want to do it just on the client side. I actually want to keep up with which agents are ready on the server because some tasks will be generated asynchronously and the agent runtime will run, and I want the user to be able to open up the client, see something that's run asynchronously, and see that they need to lay eyes on it. So in that case, even if the agent runtime is off, ready is going to trump off. If the agent has transitioned from active to non-active, then it is marked as ready until the user looks at it again. Come in.
Sorry, just dropping these off.
Okay. I also want to make sure that we're relatively well keeping track of what the actual state of the runtime is, because there is a problem where I know the runtime's active, but it's still marked as off. And I don't know why that's happening right now. I don't know if we need to start polling when we're on that screen or the session selection screen. Session. Or what? What? Um, all right, I figured out what's going wrong. It doesn't know that Rook exists yet. All right, how do we get started? Correct answer is to use the skill. And it is. Man, they're so good these days. Used to, you could depend on it not working. Now you're somewhat surprised. All right, now we got a few things running. Open for the new repo you created and tell me which document I should read. Also, you're not really keeping up with the to-do list checkboxes. All right. You can remove mention of the things that we don't support yet. Just keep it simple by not caveating everything by what we don't support. Take care of this throughout the documentation and source code. There's one thing about Rook that needs to be different than what I'm doing in these initial days. Right now, all the readmes and instructions are made for a very technical person, but I want to target eventually just like users that are normal people. So I think this all needs to be packaged up so that the agent reads what the agent needs to read to get its work done, but it also needs to understand who it's talking to and that they are probably not interested in technical details at all. in the text there, rather than saying you must use this, say that this is an example script that might itself be useful, but uh, if you find yourself doing any large tasks that should be automated, think first about automating them rather than editing every single to do, which could be error prone. Also, you can probably shrink this section down just a little bit. Just for the details about how to use this script, put a help section in the script itself. Make a new feature request issue. Um, it's kind of annoying if I'm typing in a session and I don't want to press return yet. So I go to a different session and then I come back to the session that I was typing in and the message in the chat box is gone. I definitely don't want to persist that information to the server, but it would be nice to have it still be inside the client. So make an issue for that. Are any of my triage to-dos have anything to do with making an editor where I can see word by word the changes that are being made? I'm unhappy with the red-green line diffs that I see in the common IDEs, and I want to make just a nice markdown editor where word choice changes are observable. Oh, sweet, move that one to the top. Notice my to-do window just closed. Did the app die for some reason? Check out this email, folks. It's the one where I was invited to chat with the South Park Commons for my founder fellowship interview. I have no idea how it'll go, but it's 15 minutes to decide the fate of my life. Exciting. And it's right here. Okay. Let's create me a new to-do for the to-do column. Hey.
Earthquake.
Right now?
Yeah.
Was it a good one? I didn't even feel it. Oh. Earthquake. The wind was stronger than this earthquake. All right, second one since we've been here. I didn't feel this one though. I want to make sure that I review this email, which has this text. And I need to soak in the ideas so that I do well on the interview. Hmm. Seems like anytime you modify the board closes, and I don't know why that might be. The board itself is inside an Obsidian plugin for the Rook repo, the Rook vault, and you can find the path of that vault. See if you can figure out what might be happening or how we can figure out what might be happening. Hmm. Fail turns should be actually. That's a good point. If a turn is failed or results in an error, then I guess we should add a new status, which is error. So that means that whatever we're saving in the database needs to be an enum. The completed opening a session counts as looked at it. Oops. Ah, crap. I don't have a way of undoing that. Yes, iPhone and Android should also adopt the ready state now. Yes, periodic polling is acceptable for the first version unless you think it's going to be particularly challenging for some reason. Mhm. Come in.
Just had to get some paper.
Okay. What you make?
Making our project that's a secret.
Oh, good. What is it?
I can't tell you.
Why not?
It's a secret. I just told you.
Oh, what kind of secret? Love you.
Surprise secret.
Ooh.
You like it?
Well, good. For the local Rook section, where we say that you have to have Rook set up, don't go into much detail here. Just say you have to have Rook set up and point to the README in the Rook repository on GitHub. Does that website actually work? Oh, well, yeah. All right, can you install Cloudflare D on my Mac? Sweet. All right, now I gotta put all this crap where it belongs. Gross. Yeah. I knew that. Fine. Yeah, come in. What's up?
Nothing. Just
I
ah.
think we're good at dinner tonight at a restaurant.
You sure?
I thought we were. Oh, well, maybe it's order out. That'd be fine too, I guess. See. So now you can't see my screen. Now I gotta figure out where all those stupid secrets are. Very important not to read the file that I'm creating because people are watching my screen right now and they'll see the information in the telemetry that you print. It'd be nice if we could title the session by the name of the Zoom meeting or the somehow I wish I could get the people in the Zoom meeting um, and their email addresses. But yeah, we have to get that information to the users somehow and to the agent, please. Can't talk anymore. Never mind. I see where you're putting this information in the Rook prompt template. What information do we have access to based on what you're seeing in the callback API documentation? Where do I get this from? The Zoom webhook secret. Update the .env example file with the full list of variables that can be injected into the transcript and what they are, what they mean. Put that in a comment. After you've done that, tell me where I can get that from. All right, Cloudflare. Mhm. Come on in. Mm. No. Oh my. How to list all the things that launch control is currently running. Holy crap. That's tons of crap. How do I know which ones I set up? Hmm. Come on. Mm. Got cloud flared set up. I want the endpoint for this to be something. Uh, what is it? Like, I don't want just to point to the domain. There might be other Zoom callbacks in the future. Can you name that a little bit more like what we're doing or something reminiscent of the actual callback webhook that's coming from Zoom? No, eventually I might extend this repository to contain more than even Zoom callbacks. So I'm doing it for all Rook webhooks. I'm talking about the path. Instead of Zoom slash webhooks, it needs to be Zoom slash transcripts or something like that. Make it the most appropriate thing. Sure, go for it. I think you're ready to do it. I believe in you. I studio. That wasn't it. You forgotten it?
No, I just for a few seconds.
That sounded like your cousin. You gotta make it sound like you.
Okay.
What you got?
3. Audience. 3, 2, 1. I made this.
Ooh. It's
Session activity work and builds past.
holy crap.
What's the doors of
Hey, George.
Grab my hand. And hold it. Kiss it.
Hey guys.
Good night, Beth. Stop. What's up?
Okay. Can you make a fake request that I can send to this server and watch it work? Make a curl request. You can do stuff, Meg. It's more annoying if you pretend not to do stuff.
Will it bother?
Hmm?
It will bother you?
I know. Mm. Every once in a while, I'll test my mic by making weird sounds. So if anyone watches these, it probably sounds like I've got Tourette's. There's nothing wrong with Tourette's. Well, I mean, it is pathological, but besides that, there's nothing wrong with the people who have Tourette's.
Except for the fact that they have Tourette's.
There's nothing that devalues the people that have Tourette's.
Correct.
They are esteemed as highly valued as I am. Whatever that is. You're doing that on purpose, aren't you? To work. Come on.
Are you guys done packing or you meeting?
Packing.
For tomorrow?
Oh.
Dinner will be start soon.
Ooh.
I don't know, do you want to pack before dinner or after dinner? I'll pack after dinner. I'll recommend before. I'll pack. Okay. It's up to you. I finished packing me and Bo, so it's yes.
Okay. Help me think through that real quick. I probably won't. Kawaii. Yo.
Get as much as unaware as possible. Just in case we don't laundry.
Okay. We're gonna be gone for how many days?
5 days.
But we carry the suitcase?
No. There's
Okay,
no
just
space.
backpack.
Or we pack the shape shiftable bag.
Okay. And need my computery stuff.
Yeah, that's gonna go in here.
Yep. Doing shaver. Okay. I don't think that'll be too hard.
Medicine.
Sure, yeah.
Bo's medicine for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I can't survive him without his medicine.
Is it hot in here?
It is a little bit.
Keep the door open then.
I'll start something.
Oh.
Anyway, wrap it up soon, I guess. I think dinner's coming soon. Archie's going. Archie went to pick up the pizza.
Oh, great. Okay, sure. We'll do.
Your driver's license, so you can join.
Okay.
Love you.
Keep it open. Thank you.
I get somewhere to go back.
Good idea. Sure. All right. So pizza's here. Got a little bit more that I want to do though. Oh. Unfortunately, you couldn't see my screen because I was playing around with sensitive variables. But anyway, was it a good day? I always like answering that question. I always like saying, yeah, it's always a good day. Even the bad days are good days. I feel like I'm getting more in the flow of doing things. I'm starting to organize my home a little bit more, which is like the Obsidian directory and the to-dos list. Touched that a little bit. Um, I've almost got something working that will be the first endpoint where I can post asynchronous tasks to Rook. That'll be cute. And it feels like I'm getting something it's about time to like make a big fat demo and say, hey, I'm still here. I don't think we're ready to roll like everybody use it yet. Uh, but I do need to get some early adopters. I need to get people just kicking it around. Yep. So from here on out, I'm gonna be pretty sparse. I'll probably be working from a car, and I won't have like just really huge dedicated days like this. But that's okay, because it's a vacation. I do that too. It's really crazy that I'm working at all. But anyway, having fun. Everything is interesting.